I don't want another gay boy to ever go to bed wishing that he were different, wishing that not being alive would be better than him being his authentic self.
How did you get
So
past gay shame?
acknowledgement is 80% of the work. So I think acknowledging that the shame was there. I'll tell you one thing that I work on with my clients. After you acknowledge it, question it. This is my favorite question. Who would I be if I never believed that God was punishing me for enjoying a sexual connection with someone else? Who would I be? Wow, I would be free. How can I initiate sex with my partner? I think there's a lot to unpack here. Short answer is first, let's take the pressure of sex off the table.
What do I do if I lose an erection while having sex?
Yeah. How does it make you feel that you lost that erection? Maybe journal about it, right? Like, how did it feel in my body when that happened? And maybe you'll recognize that you feel like you're less of a man because of it. Foreplay does not start when you get into the bedroom. Foreplay starts after your last orgasm with your partner. We date to mate. There's so much pressure. So instead of dating to mate, I wish I had dated for data. I wish I had gone on dates to see what feels good. How did I feel around them? Did I feel heard? Did I feel appreciated? Straight people are often rewarded in this world for simply existing. And because of that, they are not given the opportunities to become resilient because there's no friction, because they exist.
If you were to give somebody 3 pieces of advice that would be the start of them doing the work, what would they be?
I think the first step is listening to this podcast. So the good news is that if you're hearing this question, then you've already done step 1.
Hi, I'm Azamat.
And I'm Oliver, and we're the founders of Friend of Dorothy.
In today's episode, we're excited to have Eric Feltz, life coach for gay men and host of the podcast, The Great Unbecoming. Hi, Eric.
Hi, how are you guys?
Oh, good. Yourself?
I have to say, I just want to say this now, it's Feltus. Everyone says Feltz.
Oh, sorry.
So thank you for saying it wrong because it gives me the opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah.
I could try to weave this into some metaphor of not being seen, but I don't have enough time. Yeah, it's just Feltus. Now we know.
Eric Feltz, welcome to our show.
Welcome, Eric.
Appreciate it. I'm so glad to be here, guys. Thanks for the invite.
Eric, usually at the beginning, we want to know a little bit more about you. So our viewers and listeners, get a bit of touch of why have we invited you here. Maybe you could start a little bit about your background.
I would love to. When you guys reached out, I was so touched and honored. It's first and foremost, thank you. And it's wonderful to be a part of your community. This is really what it's all about, right? Like connecting with other people. A little bit about me. I came out of the closet when I was 25. I just turned 40 last week. I spent a little over half my life in the closet so far. And I grew up Catholic and evangelical, really hated being gay. In my lowest moments, I vividly remember praying to God to either make me straight or make me gay. Excuse me. To either make me straight or make me dead.
Wow.
And obviously, and I think a lot of people can relate to that sort of passive suicide. There's a reason that gay teens are between 4 and 5 times more likely to attempt suicide than straight teens. And I can relate to that, right? So I was in torment. I was engaged to a woman when I was 25, thinking that love was conditional, that if I do X, Y, and Z, then I will be good. Then I will be masculine enough, accepted enough, straight enough, saved enough, all of the above. Obviously, that didn't work. So I cheated on my fiance when I was 25 with a man, and it was an experience I'd never had before, mixed with such turmoil and guilt and the realization that I was living a double life. And while I don't excuse what I did, at that time, I recognized that my actions were a symptom of shame and feeling less than and feeling like I had no other option than to live this one life that I've been told I have to live. So coming out of the closet, I kind of thought, okay, I'm free from this. Now I'll be accepted. Now I'll be good. Now I finally know that coming out is the answer, which again is kind of funny, right? Because coming out is not the answer. Coming out is one step. It does not make your life easier. I think it makes your life more authentic. So then I try to navigate sex and relationships and intimacy with men. How do I feel like a sense of belonging? How do I let go of even those beliefs that I'm not enough in the gay community, right? So fast forward to today, through working all of that, through all of that, getting to a place where I love myself not in spite of who I am, but as and because of who I am, building a community of people who value my values, being married to my best friend. I'm in such a different place, and I want to share that with the world. I don't want another gay boy to ever go to bed wishing that he were different, wishing that not being alive would be better than him being his authentic self. Additionally, I don't want any 20, 30, 40, 50, or 80-year-olds to feel as if they're not enough, that they can't have the sex that they want, that they can't have the intimacy, the connections that they want. So this is all the driving force behind everything that I do at Life Coaching by Feltus and why I started a coaching program. We call this currently the Shame Free Gay Life Program. A lot of my men do come from that spiritual background and feel spiritually abused and harmed. But what I found so often is that my story is universal and that so many men, even if they are out, still struggle, for example, with fear, shame, regret, guilt over intimacy. And so, how can we create a community that accepts and loves ourselves as we are, supports one another as we are, right? While also cultivating intimacy in a healthy way. And so, that's what brought me to you guys.
I just want to touch probably a bit back on the religious side. And you mentioned obviously gay shame. I think anybody from a religious background will have suffered from it. How did you get past it?
I think that the launching pad was my coming out story. I think that's why I often start with that story. I was engaged at that time to my best friend at that time, who happened to be a woman. I loved her very much. I cared about her very much. And when I saw the capacity that I had to hurt someone that I loved so much, that's really when I woke up and started asking questions like, maybe being gay isn't wrong, right? Like, maybe me suppressing who I am is gonna come out whether I want it to or not. And I can choose to have it come out in a healthy way or an unhealthy way. And I've done the unhealthy route for long enough to recognize that it's not sustainable.
How did you get
So,
past gay shame?
so acknowledgement is 80% of the work, back to your question. So I think acknowledging that the shame was there. And I think that's where I was going with that, of recognizing the pain that I was causing others
Mhm.
was really instrumental in my growth because I had to recognize the shame first and foremost. How did I get through it? I don't think there's enough time because there were so many stumbling blocks, but I'll tell you one thing that I work on with my clients that could be helpful
Mhm.
is after you acknowledge it, question it. Toxic positivity will tell us, no, that's wrong. No, you're good to be gay. Don't even just ignore your instincts to tell you that you're not good. That's just furthering this self-abuse that you can't trust yourself, right?
Mhm.
So instead of that, what if we question it? Wow, I believe that being gay is wrong. I believe that that sex I just had, I'm feeling bad, therefore it must be a punishment from God. Okay, I've acknowledged right now in this moment during this literal walk of shame that I'm feeling as if God is punishing me because I feel bad about that, right? Okay, I've acknowledged it, 80% of the work. Next step, how do I treat myself? How do I treat myself when I buy into this belief that God is punishing me? Well, I don't treat myself very good. It doesn't feel good. Okay. Who would I be? This is my favorite question. Who would I be if I never believed that God was punishing me for enjoying a sexual connection with someone else? Who would I be? Wow, I would be free. And I already then start to feel a little resilient to that shame.
Mhm.
It is relentless execution of the basics. It's not a light switch. So it's this constant practice in what I call compassionate curiosity that can help us to chip away at that shame in order to become more resilient to it.
Makes sense. Yeah, 100%.
Eric, if I can ask a question. You are gay life coach. Your clients, your customers, do they all come with religious traumas, or is that the main topic that they are focusing on?
It's such a timely question for me in my business because I'm sensing a massive shift.
Okay.
And up until this point, the answer would have been yes. Every single person that's come through my program at one point or another grew up in the church. Some are still Christian, some are not. I always emphasize my program is not religious based. If you go back to church, amazing. If you walk away from church, amazing. I want to help you find the avenue that helps you best to love yourself and those around you.
Hmm.
But I'm finding that there are so many more people that I can help. that still struggle with that same sense of belonging. And I know I keep talking about sex, but I think so often it comes down to that, to wanting intimacy and connection, which is in and of itself beyond sex. It's not just sex, right?
Mhm.
But we want that connection and we still feel like we're not worthy of it. So whether your origin story is that God told you that gay sex is wrong, or that maybe you don't know why you feel that way. Maybe you haven't discovered your origin story yet. I don't want that to stop someone from becoming free of that shame.
Yeah.
So I'm very much more now open to working with men. We can help discover what your origin story is of where you've adopted these negative beliefs and help you get those relationships, that sex, that community of your dreams.
Yeah. I think sex always comes up in any of the topics when it comes to gays, because that's actually what defines us in terms of we just enjoy, we love the same sex. And if there was no sex, then we would be very much similar to straight community.
Right. And additionally, how we do one thing is how we do everything. So how we think about our bodies and how we think about the exchange of energy when we're naked in the bedroom, believe it or not, is very similar to how we think about exchange of energies and connection and our self-worth outside of the bedroom. Additionally, there's so much that we could dive into, right? Like, I think the biggest thing I hear is people want me to give them permission to feel okay. So men will come to me and say, "Is it okay that I look at porn? Is it okay that I've had X amount of hookups?" Right? Like there's a check mark that once you cross that line, then you're doomed.
Yeah.
So my job is to help you to recognize, instead of, is it too much or too little that you're doing in the
Yeah.
bedroom or on porn or in porn? How about, what are your intentions? What do you want out of this experience? Are you trying to connect? Are you having fun? Is it a treat for you? Or is it something that you're using to avoid uncomfortable beliefs? AKA, is it a compulsion? And I think those are very different things.
So
Uh,
I
uh,
think in the gay community, there's a big problem with compulsion and people doing things like hookup culture happens a lot because people quite often lack intention. You know, it's they're doing it because, well, this is what we do. This is what I'm going to do to fill a void.
100%. Yeah, and I think that we leave this conservative ideology that you have to wait until marriage, or that sex is bad. Sex is bad, so save it for someone you loved, which is so messed up.
Hmm.
We go from that to, I'm gonna sleep with as many people as I can, right? And I think that we are avoiding the deeper work. I'm gonna tell you something. I didn't realize how much I needed the Shame Free Gay Life community, my program, until I started doing it. You don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
when we were preparing for this interview, we actually looked at your social media and we found the questions that people ask you very interesting. I think our listeners would also love to hear your point of view on some of them.
I love it.
So, the question number one: how can I initiate sex with my partner?
Mhm. How can I initiate sex with my partner? I think there's a lot to unpack here. But short answer is, first, let's take the pressure of sex off the table. And also, let's define what sex is and what's not. Sex does not have to include an erection. Sex does not have to include an orgasm. Um, what if instead of sex, what if we, for this conversation, use the word intimacy?
Mm,
How can I get close to my partner?
mm,
And I say this because I've experienced this in my own life myself. Like, in a relationship, I think, wow, this foot rub that my partner's giving me feels really good, but I'm going to shut it down because I'm afraid in 15 or 20 minutes, I'm going to want it to stop then. So I should stop it now. That's called foreboding joy. We let foreboding joy ruin our lives. We feel pleasure, we feel good, and then we think this isn't going to last. So instead of enjoying it, let's stop it right now.
mhm,
So we miss out on everything. So first and foremost, how to initiate sex, I think, take the pressure off and just see what feels good. One question you can ask if it's helpful for you in your partnership is, are you open to intimacy? Are you open to closeness? Is it okay if I touch you right now? I have had some of the best sex of my life by starting in that place. So take the pressure off first and foremost.
What if my partner and I have different libido, right? In terms of like one is wanting sex more, one is wanting sex less. What to do in this
Yeah.
situation?
Great. Okay, so the mindset piece is I want you to check your mindset and ask yourself how it makes you feel that you want sex more than your partner. So first and foremost, make sure you know how you feel about that. If you feel less than or not enough, be compassionate and curious about that. That's the first step. So acknowledging that. Let's say we've moved beyond that and it's not affecting our self-worth, okay? I think we are so in the box of what sex is and what's not. What if you want sex more than your partner? What if you invite your partner to sit next to you while you look at porn and masturbate?
Hmm.
What if you ask them what they would be okay with,
Yeah.
right? Like, what would turn them on? It doesn't have to be, there's not one way of having sex. So find some sort of common ground that they might be able to support you with so that you can also feel fulfilled and safe.
Another one of the questions that one of your followers asked today, which was, what do I do if I lose an erection while having sex?
Yeah. What do I do if I lose an erection while having sex? Y'all are gonna think that I'm a broken record, but I think it's important to recognize that because so much of this is the same, right? Like first acknowledgement.
Hmm.
How does it make you feel that you lost that erection? Maybe not in the moment, maybe afterwards, maybe journal about it, right? Like how did it feel in my body when that happened? Uh, and maybe you'll recognize that you feel like you're less of a man because of it. I'm not saying that's true, on the contrary, but let's acknowledge it first.
Hmm.
So that's the first step, acknowledgement, compassion, curiosity. Second step is take the pressure off of having to have an erection. If your partner has an erection, go down on him. If you are into bottoming, maybe you can bottom for him in that moment, right? Maybe you can roll around, maybe you can make out. You do not have to have an erection to enjoy pleasure, intimacy, connection, touch, sexual connection. So just take the pressure off of it. I have, again, and this is true, I have had some amazing sex in moments where I was not able to get hard. And I had a choice. I could have thought, wow, I don't have an erection. This is over. This is doomed. This person will never want to see me again. Or I can be like, huh, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable by that. I'll unpack that later, but I'm having a really good time now. So I'm just going to continue to stay present in this moment.
Most people have too much ego to be able to do what you're saying. How do we break that habit?
God, you're gonna get so tired of me. You're never gonna want to have me on again after I say this. It's
Impossible.
acknowledgement. It's acknowledgement. Wow, I feel like I am less than. It starts with the acknowledgement. And if you're not there yet, then start wherever you want to start. But it has to become conscious,
Hmm.
right? 95% of our thoughts are subconscious. So I want you to imagine that you were in a field with 100 horses, and there are 5 horses in front of you, and there are 95 horses behind you. The 5 horses in front of you are going in the direction of your dreams. The 5 horses in front of you say, I'm a man. I look awesome naked. Like my dick is rock hard. Like everyone wants me. That's going in the direction of the person you want to be. The 95 horses that you can't see are going in all everywhere, right?
Hmm.
I'm not enough. He's not going to like me. All of this ego shit, right? If we never attempt to recognize the horses behind us, do we really think that 5 horses out of 100 are enough to get us to that place of confidence? They're not. So we have to chip away on a daily basis. And by having these conversations, by listening to this podcast, by recognizing that there's a lot we don't know, by journaling, what we're doing is we're stretching our neck muscles in order to see some of those horses behind us. And what do we say about acknowledgement? It's 80% of the work.
Hmm.
Once you see it, it's not the boogeyman under the bed anymore. There is a reason that a scary movie stops being scary once you see the monster. Once you see the monster, the director leans into jump cuts and action, and we got to go, go, go at that point. Because once you see it, it's not that scary. Why? Because your imagination is so much scarier than reality. Additionally, 85% of your fears never happen, and 85% of your fears are repeated on a daily basis. So maybe it's not helpful to lean into that fear. When we listen to our ego, we get wrapped up in that fear. And then guess what? Then we prove it right.
Mm.
So whether you think you are worthy of good sex or not worthy of good sex, you are right because you're going to find the evidence to support whatever belief that you're leaning into.
So I love what you say. And one of the things you've mentioned a couple of times now is journaling. And journaling is something that my therapist put me on to probably 18 months ago now.
Good for you,
Really, really changes how you look at things.
doesn't
And
it?
I think going back 10 years, not 10 years, 20 years to when I first came out, had I tried journaling, it would have totally changed my formative years on becoming a gay man and how I see gay relationships, friendships, the whole thing.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Tell me, because of your journaling,
hmm
what is some sort of shift that you've had in your own life?
I am much more aware of negative thoughts. Like my negative thoughts go down on paper and then they're gone. It's like what you say about the boogeyman. It's like literally you can have it in your head all day. Something will happen at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It happened yesterday. Something happened with my kid's nursery. And the whole day I was like, And I got home, I was writing my journal, I put it down, literally it vanished. It was like just air came and blew it away. But there's loads of things like just it changes. I genuinely believe journaling changes the way you look at the world and the way you deal with problems.
We can lean into the drama or we can lean into the data. When we journal, we detach from it.
hmm
We are able to see the words. It becomes a little more clinical. And I'm not saying we cannot be emotionally based too, but like, let's look at the words and detach from it. Now, here's the other thing. If you remember, I said that 85% of your fears come back every day, right? So people might hear this and be like, well, then what's the point of journaling if it's the same stuff? I call this the brain dump in my Shame Free Gay Life program. So imagine you have a cup in your head and it's filled every day with sludge. You're not good enough. You know, you're not a good dad because your nursery is broken and like whatever thoughts you have right in
hmm
your head, and then you journal and you take that cup and you dump it out. Now the cup is empty. Then you put the cup back and guess what? Come tomorrow, it's going to be filled again. That's okay. That's called maintenance work, right? You can go to the dentist when you need a tooth extraction, or you can go to the dentist regularly as maintenance work to avoid a catastrophe. And I think that the journaling helps us with maintenance work to avoid those catastrophes.
100%. I'm all for it.
I saw on social media an ad for a game for couples, and that will bond you more with your partner. And one of the questions was name one thing that I do that turns you on a lot. So I think not many of us ask our partners, like, what are top three things that I do that really turn you on, right?
Foreplay does not start when you get into the bedroom. Foreplay starts after your last orgasm with your partner. So everything leading up to that next exchange of sexual energy is foreplay. So to your point, right, of like what now I know what turns you on. I can kind of like, oh, like touching your ear, touching your neck turns you on. Maybe like on your way to work, I'll do that, right? Like, how can I kind of start the kindling? In other words, not with the intention of having sex right now, the intention of making you feel pleasure so that your body feels safer and more aroused around me, regardless of what the intention is.
100%. In your last social media story post, what was the question that surprised you?
I had someone leave about 4 questions, and it was the same question in 4 different ways, to the effect of, is it wrong to have sex with a man? Another question he asked was, are same-sex couples going to heaven? Like very linear thinking of this is bad, right? My point is like I could have answered all of those questions one time, right? It's more of just like a shocking reminder, if that makes sense, of how much shame we feel, how bad we feel about who we are, and what we try to do externally in order to avoid feeling bad. Again, he wanted me to give him permission to feel like he wasn't a piece of shit, right?
Mm,
And if all I said was, no, it's not bad,
yeah.
I don't think I'm really helping him.
hmm
I think I'm helping him to avoid the discomfort of what's underneath there. Listen, friends love toxic positivity. This is what a friend will say to you. Oh, he'll call you back. Oh, it's not you. Oh, no, don't even worry about it. Bullshit. Your friends are so uncomfortable at you feeling uncomfortable, and that's okay. Like, sometimes we need that safety blanket. Like,
Mm.
when I wanna just feel good,
Yeah.
I call my mom, and I love her for that.
Mhm.
She serves a purpose in my life in that way, right? But that's not helping me to get through it. We
Okay.
need to, instead of avoid, we need to get deeper down into the negative feeling and
Mhm.
allow ourselves to feel it in order to process it and move through it.
Eric, I want to go back to your stories of your relationships and what you've learned from them. So, after you came out at the age of 25,
Yeah.
and I guess you were exploring yourself and until you found your current partner. So, maybe some words of wisdom of what you've learned from those
Yeah.
relationships.
Oh my God. I am like chomping at the bit to answer this. Thank you for that. So, first and foremost, I want to say that I am still exploring. I think there's this, and I don't think you meant it this way, but I think there's this false idea that happily ever after is a thing, and it's not.
Hmm.
That's the beginning, right? So, like, my husband and I are exploring each other and ourselves all the time still. Upon reflection, I've recognized in my life that I have often jumped from relationship to relationship to relationship, from
Hmm.
guy to guy to guy. And now I recognize that a big reason for that was because, thanks in part to purity culture, I was feeling icky about having sex, hooking up with guys outside of a relationship. I had a lot of judgment on myself. And so what was the result? I get into a relationship. I'd be bored after 3 months. I'd break up with him. I'd be single for a little while, have a couple hookups, feel terrible about those, jump into another relationship. I dated some wonderful men. I'm not regretting that, but I wish I allowed myself to just explore and be kinder to myself along the way. I also think one more thing I want to say. We, particularly from purity culture, we date to mate.
Hmm.
Most languages do not have a verb for the word date. That says something about our culture. In English, to date, what does it mean? To connect with someone with the intention of what? Of being with them forever? That is so much pressure. We see this tiny photo of some, especially people from purity culture. We see a tiny photo of someone, we swipe right, we imprint all of our hopes and dreams onto that one person we've never met. We meet them in person, we put them on a pedestal, and then they're the asshole like 2 months later when they didn't meet our script that we wrongfully, unconsensually handed to them. That is so much pressure. So instead of dating to mate, I wish I had dated for data. I wish I had gone on dates to see what feels good. We talk about this in my program called the walkaway test.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go on a date with you. We're gonna have coffee. We're gonna walk away. After we walk away, I'm gonna ask myself, I'm gonna check in. How do I feel in my body? How did I feel around them? Did I feel heard? Did I feel appreciated?
Hmm.
I was in a relationship with a man. It blew up. He cheated, all of this stuff. But I reflected on the relationship. And the very first date, he didn't ask me a single question. I was with him for 2 years. And on the first date, he didn't ask me a single question. If I had dated for data as opposed to imprinting what I want him to be, which is not fair, it was not fair for me to have done that to him.
Hmm.
But I don't think I would have wasted 2 years of pain and feeling like I'm not enough.
But wasn't there exactly at that point when it was the first date, you wanted something from him, so you sacrificed yourself, right?
You're talking about the difference between fitting in and belonging. And the answer is yes. I tried to fit in with him. I contorted myself to
Hmm.
become the human being that I thought that he wanted from a partner.
Hmm.
That's fitting in. Belonging is feeling seen, safe, and celebrated as and because of who you are, not in spite of who you are, and recognizing that those who value your values will gravitate towards you.
Something I hear quite a lot in the UK, I don't know if it's a thing in the US, so I'd love to get your opinion on it, is dating app burnout. Do you think it's a real thing?
Yeah, yeah. I've had moments in my life where my thumb hurts from scrolling. My eyes are glazed over. Apps are designed by engineers who know a lot more than I do about the science behind addiction, and they tap into your addiction. So if anyone feels like, why can I not get off Grinder or Instagram even? It's because it is designed to keep you on it. And so then we kind of easily lose sight of why we got on it in the first place. So I would say take a break. Allow yourself to take the app off your phone, put your phone down, and look up and see what's around you. That's gonna cause something, because this happened to me. I'll give you a story. I took Instagram off my phone once because I was so burned out, to your point. And I took it off my phone. I was living in LA at the time, and I was walking near Runyon Canyon in Hollywood, which, if anyone doesn't know, it's like a hiking trail, and like just the most beautiful people in the world are there. A man in shorts and no t-shirt walked by. Gorgeous man. I immediately reached for my phone because I was going to open Instagram. When I pulled my phone out to look for the app, in the moment of recognition that I didn't have the app on my phone anymore, that's called a pattern interrupt. By taking the app off my phone, my pattern of subconsciously looking for this app, right? That was interrupted. In the moment, compassionate curiosity. Wow, interesting. Now that I'm conscious because of that pattern interrupt, I'm curious, why? Why did I want to open it in the first place? In the moment, I recognized that I was looking for validation. Here I saw this beautiful half naked man. I had a million thoughts at once of like, I'm not enough. He's better than me. I'm not that sexy, whatever. Let me open an app that's going to tell me otherwise. Let me open an app that will help me to avoid the discomfort that I'm not enough, right? Let me see how many people liked my last post, right?
Mhm.
So by taking that app off my phone, I was able to recognize that that's why I was using it in the first place. So it helped me to be more conscious. So take it off your phone, whether it's Grindr, Tinder, whatever. You're going to learn a lot about yourself so that when you do download it again, if you ever download it again, you're going to be much more conscious and intentional with your choices.
Fully agree with that. So I did a similar thing back last month. I got one of these bricks where you
Yeah.
can completely block your phone. My therapist suggested it. And she got me to do all dating apps, Instagram, and so on. And I found that when I went back on, my intention and the speed that I would move through them changed so much, like really, really slowed down. I started looking almost past the photo. It wasn't just a case of swiping. I was reading what was on the profiles. By slowing down and getting more intentional, you end up with better matches. You find people who are have the same things you judge past just based on looks.
I think that is so well said.
Amazing. Gold star for me.
Before you even go on online offline dating, how about we'll do a little bit more work about ourselves? How about we understand ourselves? How about we understand, even learn how to date, even learn what we need, learn how to communicate, and only then go on online offline dating? Is that
I'm so glad you brought this up because I respectfully think that that is a misconception. I want you to think of it this way. In your country, if you are taught the rules of the road, if you're taught how to drive by reading a book,
Mhm,
and that's all you do, and then people say, okay, you're good, that there would be so many more car crashes.
mhm,
You need to get in the car. You need to experience the weight of, your foot on the pedal. You need to experience these things in order to be a better driver, right?
mhm,
I think dating is the same. I mean, to your point, I do think, yeah, sure, like don't jump the gun, but I don't think this idea of ready is real. I think it's a myth. Ready is not an emotion. What
mhm.
is it? I don't even know what ready. I think it's a choice. So again, going back to like dating for data, I think you're going to learn a lot about what you want, what you don't want, how you want to feel when you get those reps in and go on those dates.
But also, I think we have a complexity of um, replicating maybe what we see from straight world, how the straight world operates in terms of dating, but then adding on top the complexity of sexuality
Yeah.
and the culture,
Yeah.
and then mixing all together, I think we get a little bit more challenges than our straight peers do.
100%. And I also think that when we work on ourselves, we are miles ahead of straight people. If there are any breeders out there listening, I mean, no offense to you. We love straight people. Please keep making babies and keeping the world going. But the world has been created for straight people,
Hmm.
right? Just like the world has been created for cisgender people and for white people,
Hmm.
right? And so, because of that, straight people are often rewarded in this world for simply existing.
Hmm.
And because of that, they are not given the opportunities to become resilient because there's no friction, because they exist. If I were straight, I would have gotten married at a young age. Who knows? Who knows if I would have been happy or not? I don't know. But I think that because of the friction I've received from being gay in a world that doesn't make it as easy for us, that has given me the opportunity to become powerful and resilient and to know my worth in a way that I wouldn't have even questioned because I wouldn't have been able to have the opportunities to be questioned if I were straight.
Hmm. Eric, how do you help your clients to fight body dysmorphia?
Yeah. Once again, what do you think is the first step? What is 80% of the work?
Acknowledge.
Right? So let's acknowledge first and foremost.
As if that's
Good job.
acknowledging
I'm
it.
a good boy. I
You
listened.
do so good. By the way, should I just say, I don't know if you know this, but you have a man ejaculating into your ear right now. I don't know if you knew that.
That's
Yeah.
Thomas.
Yeah. Oh, hi,
He's
Thomas.
he's our co-host.
Yeah.
Oh, he's sweet. He's having a good time. Good for you, Thomas. Anyway, no, I forgot what the question. Body dysmorphia. Let's acknowledge first. Let's acknowledge how we feel and what we feel. There's a lot of mirror work we can do, and it has to start with your comfort level first. What makes you feel comfortable? Some people can stare at themselves in the mirror naked. Some people are not able to even glance at themselves in a reflection in a car when they're walking by, right? So I think it's important first and foremost to recognize where you are on this journey of self-love with your body. Then, what is one thing you can do to get out of your comfort zone? I am not asking you to get into your anxiety zone. If you can't look at yourself as you walk by a mirror for a glance, I'm not going to tell you to go to a naked yoga class tomorrow, right? That's not where you're at. But with where you're at, can you pause and acknowledge how your feet feel on this floor? Can you hold a cup of hot coffee in your hands and acknowledge the warmth that it gives you? Can you enjoy the temperature of the water as it hits your body in the shower? So, can I help you to get in your body just a little more than you were before? Now, if you are someone that can look at themselves in the mirror, whether you have clothes on or not, figure where you are out with that level of comfort. And then can you just stare at yourself? There is so much we can learn and discover. There's an entire universe in your reflection. What do you like about your body? Maybe there's a birthmark that you never noticed. Maybe you really like your earlobes. Don't question it. Don't censor it. Allow yourself to enjoy what you see. And then you're going to see things you don't like and acknowledge it. What do we say? Compassionate curiosity, acknowledgement. Ooh, I don't like those stretch marks. Okay. That feels uncomfortable. That's just where I'm at right now. I think it has to start with acknowledging who we are in order for us to feel more present in our own bodies. That's going to be the first step. And then again, inching your way out of your comfort zone without fully getting into the place of anxiety. There's the comfort zone, discomfort zone, and the anxiety zone. If we live in the comfort zone, we never grow. We die. If we live in the discomfort zone constantly, we're going to burn out, right? So go back to that place of safety. So then walk away from the mirror and be like, that's enough for today. I don't need to see myself again. Be kind to yourself. And then ask yourself, what can I do next time to get slightly more out of my comfort zone?
Eric, we've spoke a lot about people starting the work on themselves. And I find that when I'm out interacting with gay people, a lot of people haven't started any work. This can be the point where they're in their 30s or 40s. But I genuinely think as a culture, we're moving towards more getting working on yourself. If you were to give somebody 3 pieces of advice, 3 tips that they could go away and do tomorrow, that would be the start of them doing the work, what would they be?
I think the first step is listening to this podcast. So the good news is that if you're hearing this question, then you've already done step 1. You don't know what you don't know. And now that you've experienced this idea that maybe there is a different way, that acknowledgement has to start first. So that's the first step, acknowledging where you are and what you might be missing. I think the next step is acknowledging what you want your life to look like. If you do not have a target, you cannot hit a bullseye. So we're going to start by acknowledging where we are. We're going to continue to acknowledge where we want to be. And then the third step of these 3 steps is allow yourself to feel all of the fear that's gonna come up when you acknowledge that you want something more for yourself. The ego will tell you it's not possible. You've acknowledged where you are, you've acknowledged where you wanna be. Your ego's gonna say, "That's not possible. That's for them." And it's gonna find reasons. Well, it's because they look this way and you don't look that way.
Mhm.
Or it's because it's too late for you, or you don't, or I don't have money. And it's like, okay, well, my question is, how much money have you spent on alcohol over the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years to avoid this work?
Mhm.
Right? And if that's your choice, that's okay. But let's acknowledge it, right?
Mhm.
Acknowledge where you are, acknowledge where you want to be, acknowledge the fear that comes up along the way.
Yeah, I such good advice. I mean, if I look at, I would say I started mentally taking care of myself 10 years ago.
Mm.
And it was when I was deciding that I wanted to be a parent. I had a lot of trauma, which both religious and just from my family in general. And 10 years ago, I started taking care of myself. And it cost nothing. Like to mentally start doing things, it costs nothing other than ignoring your ego and taking the first step. And I think that can be as easy as spending for you in the US, a couple of dollars on a notebook and just sit there and writing. That can be the first step. And it compounds. Once you start doing one thing,
Oh, yeah.
like literally you're like, oh, okay. You know what? I feel like going to the gym. And because you've journaled about it, you're like, oh yeah, I'll go to the gym. And then you feel like,
Yeah.
oh, you know what? I'm going to eat a bit better. I'm not going to have a drink tonight. I don't need one. And just little things like that. And they really do compound when you start to make the effort, I find.
It was so interesting is that you totally contradicted yourself right there. You said you ignore your ego, and but then your explanation was the opposite of ignoring it. It was acknowledging it,
Mm,
right? Think about your ego like you think about a child in the backseat of your car. If that child is throwing a tantrum, sometimes you need to pull over, let the child run around, let the child be heard, and then the child's probably going to fall asleep. But there's suffering in the resistance. So when we resist the ego, it just gets louder. That which you resist persists. The acknowledgement is huge.
So I think something that I've come across more and more recently is, I don't know if it's just a UK thing, but gay men suffering from bottom shame, like actually being
Oh, sure.
ashamed to admit they're a bottom. I guess
Yeah.
my question is, somebody who maybe has that in their persona, what would
Yeah.
be your advice to them?
Yeah. I mean, there's so much history there. Gay men can be some of the most sexist people that I've ever seen. And bottom shaming it's rooted in sexism. It
Mm,
comes from the patriarchy that says that the receiver is less than the giver. So if we can ask, what is our origin story? That in and of itself is going to solve a lot of the problems. I don't expect other people to be as big of nerds as me, but I've obviously done a lot of history into religion. And there was actually a time where the church deemed the homosexuality as a sin, but they deemed bottoming as a bigger sin than topping. And what they're saying is
it's
that the
wild.
receiver is less than, right? So I think if we acknowledge where we adopt these beliefs, once you start, it's like unraveling a sweater, right? Like you can't stop. And you're like, oh my God. And I remember when someone said this to me. And I remember when someone said this to me. It's wild at what's going to happen. I think in acknowledging that shame and the origin story of it is the first step. I think additionally, find people again who value your values. So if people are in your life that you want to keep in your life and they make a joke about you being a bottom, for example, hey, that makes me uncomfortable. How they respond to that boundary tells you everything you need to know about them. And that's true for all boundaries. Hey, I'm going to set a boundary here. I don't like that language. It makes me feel uncomfortable. Oh, wow. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now we have a safer space. But if it's like, oh, you're being a sissy. Oh, you're just being a fag. Oh, of course a bottom would say that. Well,
Hmm.
I don't feel like you value my values. I don't feel good when I practice the walk away test. Maybe I'm not going to take my clothes off around you anymore.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So find people who value your values, who feel safe, because here's the thing bottoming takes so much work. It's
Hmm.
so powerful, right? It can be an incredibly rewarding experience once you're experiencing it with people who are worthy of your time and who value your values.
Amazing. I love it. Cool.
I like it. Eric, before we wrap up, I want to ask you a few questions about your program. So maybe explain a little bit more to our listeners and viewers. What service do you provide? What is this program about? What's the format of it? How long
Yeah.
does it last?
Amazing. Currently, I have 2 programs. I have the 10-week Shame-Free Gay Life program, and then I have the longer extended program that's called the Pride Academy. In the Pride
Mm-hmm.
Academy, I've had men that are in the program for 2 to 3 years. These programs consist of community support and one-on-one support.
Mm-hmm.
And I think both of those pieces are helpful because, to your point, we crave connection. I think a lot of this work of feeling better about who we are is dissolved when we are in a room, online or in person. When we're in a room with other men and we see the bobbleheads, we see people nodding. I can't tell you how many times I have shared a story about my own fear of not staying hard or shame around a hookup, for example. And I just see like tension melting off of the people on the screen. The recognition that shame has lied to them and told them that they are alone in this. They can't talk about this with anyone else because shame hates to be talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're in a room and we're exposing that boogeyman, right?
Mm-hmm.
So community involvement in this program is a huge step. And then one-on-one work. So in the 10-week program, we really master tools to become resilient to the shame. We focus on where you are now, where you want to be in the next 10 weeks, and we have check-ins throughout the way. I've had men that are 20 years old. I have men that are 80 years old. I have roughly about 40% of my men are somewhere on the spectrum. They're neurodivergent. Um, I have men that are still Christian. I have men that never want to step inside a church. I say all of this because all of that is extra. At our core, we value each other's values. And those values are how can I learn how to love myself and how to love those around me, right? Through shame resilient work, through intimacy work, and through connecting with one another. So that's the program. So, if I may, if this sounds interesting to you and you think you might want to learn more about this, there are so many ways we can connect. You can go on Instagram at Eric Feltus. You can go to lifecoachingbyfeltus.com and we can just go from there and connect.
And you'll be tagged in all, obviously, these posts as well, so people can just go and see you there.
Amazing.
Eric, this was very helpful. Time really flies fast when we're having such an interesting, deep, and helpful conversations. So thank you so much for joining our show, and I hope our listeners benefit from it, and anyone who is interested, they'll follow the links and connect with you.
Eric, absolutely loved it. I've got like 30 more questions, so we'll definitely want to have you back on another time.
Good. It's my pleasure. Thanks for being here. And I just want to say, I want to acknowledge to your listeners, if you're listening and you're curious, that's the first step. So if you're listening, obviously, Friends of Dorothy have created an amazing environment where you are safe and welcome here. So just keep chipping away at it, keep being curious, and reach out if you need anything.
Amazing.